Hello and welcome to the CIBSE podcast. I'm Lubna Ahmed, Senior Associate Technical Manager at AE7 and the Vice Chair of CIBSE Intelligent Building Group. I'm the CIBSE membership champion supporting professional, graduate, and student across UAE, Middle East through their journey toward CIBSE membership and professional recognition. In this podcast, we will be talking about career opportunities, key market trends, and how CIBSE membership can add real value in shaping your professional journey. I'm joined by James Mowat. Hi, James.
Hello, Lubna.
A global recruitment expert who will shed some light on what the job market is looking for and how CIBSE membership can add real value in shaping your professional career. Thank you, James, for joining us today, and we would like to have a bit about your background in recruitment industry and how you drew to the building services engineering sector.
Of course. I'll try and condense it a little bit because it's actually 20 years now. I'm getting old. So, yeah, my name is James Mowat. I'm Managing Director for Permanent Recruitment for a UK headquartered recruitment business by the name of Energi People. And we recruit across the full built environment. So MEP, structures, architecture, and the specialist disciplines as well. I personally, as I mentioned, head up the permanent side of things for the business and have recruited specifically across the Middle East region for nearly 20 years now. So a very long time. I've been involved, within the MEP sector specifically for the entirety of my recruitment journey, and have been affiliated with CIBSE for quite a long time actually, since its inception here in the region. So it's been amazing to work with CIBSE UAE for such a long time, and it's an honour to join you on this podcast. Thank you.
It is a great pleasure to have you today here, James, and we would like to know what are the current trends that are shaping the industry right now, and how the landscape evolving when it comes to the engineerings and the GCC, and especially post the corona, and what are the more dominant norms and trends.
Yeah, of course. Well, for me, the biggest sector that's developed significantly since COVID has been data centers. And that's actually, it's grown that significantly across this region, I would say, probably since COVID in reality, because you've got more mature markets in Europe and Asia and the US within the data center sector. But here it's only really been a growth market for probably about 5 years since COVID. So we're doing a lot from a projects perspective on the data center side of things, and a lot of consultancies are exploring that market, trying to enter that market as a specialism, and also the employers, of course, within that sector are looking for those skill sets or transferable skills to be able to design these highly complex data center projects across the region. The other thing is BIM and digitization. They're two key things that I see a lot of. Even more and more clients of ours. I actually had a WhatsApp this morning from one asking me for a BIM and digitization manager for Dubai. So that skill set, again, is emerging here a lot. And in honesty, I think if engineers don't start to adopt and learn more about the actual digitization softwares themselves, like Rhino, Grasshopper, Ladybug, these sorts of things, I think in 5 to 10 years' time, some people might be left behind.
It is great insight to know, and I believe that will be also as a guidance for a graduate or a mid-professional career, how they can stay competitive in the coming 5 or 6 years, which is great things to know. Also, we'd like to know, post-corona, has the hybrid or remote working is becoming like a serious consideration in GCC hiring, or is still companies are preferring the traditional in-office model?
Of course, yeah. It's actually a really an interesting question, because you get, especially if you spend a bit of time on LinkedIn, if you look through a lot of the popular posts over the last few years, it's all been like, what's the right model? What works, what doesn't work from a hybrid or completely remote perspective. not to give a non-committal answer deliberately, but I think it really depends on what the person's job specifically is and what the requirements are for their role as to whether it is actually successful. Because I think you've got two sides here from a hybrid model specifically, that, if we've given people something during COVID as a benefit, it's very difficult to take that away. And we're seeing that a lot more from specific businesses here and in the UK, of people trying to get people to go back to the office a little bit more often. That could be in a variety of different ways, from 1 day a week all the way through to 3 days a week back in the office. It really, as I say, depends on the needs of the roles, I think it should be, because the worry I have with the remote work thing for younger engineers, they're potentially going to be losing out on a lot of insights from experienced people like you, of being in the office and being able to actually go through drawings and learn and go into a client meeting and these sorts of things, of interacting with people face to face as opposed to on Teams. So I think there are some downsides to it, in honesty, but there is still a big drive and want from individuals to have that flexibility. So my advice has always been to companies is to explore it, but manage it, because ultimately, as leaders of businesses, we should be the people that are accountable for whether it works or not. Because if you're not measuring how effective people are, you're not managing it, and it's very difficult to then actually ascertain whether it is successful or not. And if people are working from home and it's not working, that is really down to the business as well, to manage those individuals to make sure that they're able to be productive if they are. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, but
because it's a bit of a difficult one.
Actually, I'm a bit curious about that, the feedback, since you are talking to the both side.
Yeah.
From companies' perspective and
Yeah.
the KPIs of performance. What is the feedback? And also from the other side, from the engineering and the staff, from a leadership and management, what's also the feedback in terms of their preferences, whether to work in office model or they prefer to be hybrid or fully remotely?
Yeah, I think candidates especially, they look for that, especially if it's, again, been a benefit that they've had and that they're used to, because people naturally will model their life around it. So, it's silly things. It might be walking their dog at lunch. It might be, those sorts of things. It can make a big impact. So people want that flexibility to be able to do that and to be treated ultimately like adults, right?
Yeah.
In honesty. And so we've seen it more and more and more. Candidates, not demanding necessarily, but they will always inquire as to what the flexibility is from a remote work point of view. We've actually had, since COVID, we've had candidates that have rejected opportunities with amazing businesses, whether that be an actual formal offer letter or even an interview, because the company didn't actually offer those benefits.
Right.
So it is a big demand within the market, within the job seeking market specifically. People do want that flexibility, and then you have, on the flip side of it, you've got some people still don't believe in it from an employer's point of view. So I think it's always going to be one of those subjects that it's very difficult to give the right answer, because you've got some people that don't believe in it, some people that really do believe in it.
True.
But ultimately, it is a big, I'd say, either a red flag or a green flag for a candidate if they're looking for a role.
Yeah, actually, I always look into it that it is more than logistic and saving utilities for companies and flexibility for the people that they are coming to the work. Also, there is a side of interactions and growth and coordinations as well. It has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
That is indeed will be the real challenge for the coming 5 years, I believe, whether people they settle for this or that.
Yeah, and it's the productivity. That's the other side that you've got of it. If you've got certain people within certain roles, it's going to help them significantly. If you're working from home and you've got no distractions, if you need to, for want of a better phrase, get your head down and just focus, have real specific focus time to do a task or several tasks, some people are a lot more effective at that than, if you're sat in an office. I'm sure you know the feeling. We're sat there trying to do something, and then you've got people coming and asking you questions all the time, and it ends up taking you so long to complete something that is and should be fairly straightforward and simple. But because we're getting distracted so much, it actually ends up taking you longer. Whereas if you were working from home, you put yourself on Do Not Disturb on Teams, and you, generally speaking, should then be able to get that deep focused work done. So that's what I mean by it. It really is quite a difficult subject to
But
give
also
the right answer.
we cannot dismiss the required time that needed for coordination, reaching out also to your colleague and subordinate and your superior. So that also time is a significant time to be in consideration how people they can move forward with such approach.
Yeah, and building relationships, as you touched on, like it's very difficult to build relationships on Teams, right?
Oh, absolutely, and especially people now, they tend to shut the cameras and do other work and writing other email while they're rather than engaging in the moment of the meetings. Yeah,
We have, not to go too off piece on the question, but I've even had on both sides of the coin interviews that were conducted on Teams where candidates haven't turned their camera on.
Oh,
believe it or not. Yeah,
that's very shocking.
But also the client. I had one interview, some time ago, where the client didn't actually have their camera on. And then the candidate, you as an employee, you've got to try and create that environment as well, I suppose. Whereas if you're not showing who you are, it's quite difficult to actually get that buy-in from people, right?
Yeah. And for you as a recruiter, by having expectation of candidate being changed and what is used to be, how that is helping you or holding you on locating right people with the right companies?
Very good question, because we've got, especially from a data center perspective, there's something I was talking to somebody about yesterday. The market here is nowhere near, as I mentioned, as mature as Europe or the US. So there's a big talent shortage here. So I recently compared it to a puddle, not a pool, because it's so tiny. So what we've advised a lot of clients is to look actually at bringing people from externally from the region, or if it allows, to employ people remotely. Because you're missing out, companies are missing out on skill sets. If the role is able to be remote, why would you not consider that? If there isn't a specific need for somebody to be in the office, why would you not consider that? I know it can be difficult for some countries to be able to do that, to employ people remotely, but if you search through an employer of record route, then you can employ someone through an entity in a different country. So you can actually then tap that talent pool that is in a totally different location to actually enable you to absorb those individuals and skill sets into your business. We had it in the UK as well, again, significantly in the data center sector, even though it is more mature, because it's so competitive. You've got certain companies that have offices in certain locations, similarly to here, I suppose, and the companies were so strict on what office that candidate would be employed in, that it significantly limited them, because you've got some of them that are in quite remote locations.
And I think that definitely have created new roles that emerged and did not exist last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So it has, if the business is able to do that, and if the role can be managed properly and it can be as effective remotely, then that is something definitely I think people should look at a bit more, for sure.
And by mentioning your recommendation to your client to have some people from outside the region, would like to know what are nationalization policies influencing the hiring practices and opportunities?
Yeah, very much so. Here in region, you of course have Saudiization and Emiratization. So that has created, I think, limitations and boundaries in certain ways for employers here to employ candidates, as you rightfully say, from outside the region, because you have to have, it sounds horrible, but a quota of human beings from specific countries within your business. So that's creating some challenges for some businesses, but I like to see the opposite in terms of the opportunities that it's creating and giving to the local community. There's some unbelievable engineers, the Emirati engineers and Saudi engineers that I personally have spoken to over the last, probably since COVID, I think it's probably really started to accelerate more. And that even those individuals in themselves are an untapped talent pool to some degree. And there have been some challenges that come along with that as well, because these individuals are in such high demand. You have a lot of the government entities within region that will employ these individuals on a bit of a higher salary. So that can actually create some challenges as well for some of the consultancies here and the contractors.
I can't agree more. Actually, we have seen recently such empowering young local engineers coming and stepping forward in the industry, and definitely they will be taking the futures toward their country development. Yeah,
it's incredible. Did you, sorry to interrupt you, did you see the young lady from BK Golf?
Yes.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Actually, I met the Emirati ladies in BK Golf in the Emirati Women Days. And also I'm working with some projects Saudi based. Also there is an amazing Saudi engineers I have worked with.
Brilliant.
And really they are a promising engineering hub for the future for their countries. And we wish them all the best. Definitely.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I think the opportunities, as you say, just accessing them more for local individuals. I think once it's stabilized a bit from a salary point of view, if I'm honest, I think that will actually help a lot of the consultancies within region to access that talent pool even more, because there is a
different scale.
Yeah.
And since now we are talking about the diversity, gender balance, how is it evolving in the GCC technical recruitment?
Well, luckily, we are. as a female engineer sat opposite me right now, this region I think has always been brilliant at it in actually promoting, I think, women within our sector specifically. You've got a lot of countries that are fairly local to here as well that actually have a lot of female engineers. There's a lot of Lebanese women that are engineers, I know, from various different consultancies across the region. You've got so many different talent pools to access of Arabic speaking women as well. That has been what I've seen probably the last couple of years. Not a requirement, because that's probably the wrong way to put it, but more companies looking for Arabic speaking women as well in the industry. And there's a big perception coming from the UK. If you've never been here to the Middle East, there's this whole misconception of the region in terms of suppression of women.
Right.
There is. Sorry to be so honest, but it's true. There's a big stigma still back home in the UK. However, there are so many female leaders that I know within the sector here that have progressed significantly well, that are leading teams, businesses, projects. You came from a contracting background as well, right?
Yeah, I came from academia contracting background, and I've been in the consultancy for the past 8 years. And I've been in the region since 2001, and I have witnessed a lot of development and progress and change in the mindset. And I do encourage women. There is a right place for them, and there is a right companies, and there is a right leaders that they like to nourish and mentor and to develop them. And also I do encourage them to join the WIBSE, which is Women in Building Services Engineering, where they can find the right guidance and they can talk to the right mentors and to the right leaders. And also definitely to the women that they are like-minded to guide them through the process. But definitely there is an expansion of the woman present in the industry, and it is really a good thing to witness. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's changed over the years. Like I remember, without going on too much, many years ago I recruited for a huge hospital in Qatar, and the lady that I hired for a client, she was electrical engineer but site based, and there were certain statements that were made by the hiring manager, man, back then, that I won't repeat it, but they were really bad. And it was, whether one woman would be able to survive on a site. And not even looking at this lady's skill set and how brilliant of an engineer he just immediately was just assuming that this lady wouldn't be in the right environment. And she actually went on, she accepted the job, and she progressed. I think she got promoted like 3 times in 3 years. Unbelievable.
Glad to hear that she's thrive. Yeah,
unbelievable.
That is good.
So there's, even here in the region, as I say, the stigma. Come here, look on LinkedIn, look at so many different businesses, look at who I'm luckily sat next opposite, a female engineer. So It's changed a lot.
Sometimes challenges create resilience, and that keep you moving and keep you, to find the right people to be surrounded with and the right role that you would like to take and to fulfill your passion and your goals. And I'm glad that she made it through.
Yeah, and there's still a long way to go. Don't get me wrong. I think the region, the world, still has a long way to go in that sense, especially in our industry, because it is ultimately still male dominated. I think what we've got to continue to do is spread the message and encourage women, encourage girls at school to progress a career in construction. My perception of construction before I got into building services recruitment many years ago now was a hard hat and cement. That's what I thought construction was.
True.
And I think there still is that big misconception about how amazing a career in the construction industry in MEP can be for women.
All our audience, women engineer, they will like such a feedback from, especially from a recruitment point of view.
What we've got to do, to add just very quickly onto that, is this is what I challenge quite a lot of as well, is making sure that it's not just a tick box. And it's exactly the same thing with the Emirati engineers, the Saudi engineers, is that we've got to make sure that businesses aren't just doing this to look good. It's the same as sustainability. It's the same as so many different things, is that we all of us have to be accountable, I think, in many ways, to make sure that if there are certain parameters within businesses, that they have to achieve certain metrics of how many female leaders that are in businesses, that it's there for good reason, not just for a tick box.
I believe beside the opportunity and not keep any glass ceiling for women within organization, it lies also for the women or the individual characters and the value that hold and the goals. I believe they can alter the path of within the company, and they can prove that their present is values more than a tick in a box.
Yeah.
So I believe also they do hold the responsibility in order to take it forward.
I agree.
You kept speaking about the data center.
Yes.
Yeah. What other segment in the industry are having the most hiring momentum right now beside the data center?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot, aside from the data centers, in the pharmaceutical sector here. I've seen a lot more projects. There was one recently in Abu Dhabi that was, I think the design's actually completed now, of quite a large pharmaceutical project down there. I know that is supposed to be quite a bit of a growth sector. I've heard more from people recently about even the residential sector is getting busier again, because the last probably 18 months, you think all the changes that Dubai has made for visas here, for people or influencers and remote workers like what we were talking about, people can actually work here a lot easier now. So the residential sector has gone up a lot, and I believe the rent increases for quite a few people. Yeah, it's not good, but that shows you that there's so much more people that are coming into the country. And I've been staying down at the marina the last week, and the traffic, you can feel it, that there's a lot more people that are here. So the resi sector, the pharmaceutical industry sector as well, they seem to be growing progressively as well.
What set of skills or qualifications are more in demand currently?
Yeah, aside from data centers, there's the ATD qualification, accredited tier designer by the Uptime Institute. That is in very high demand within the data center space. We get a lot of clients, especially certain businesses, I won't mention any names because there are lots of options out there, that require you to be a chartered engineer if you're a senior engineer or above. So having the chartership through CIBSE as well is definitely in increasing demand as ever. And I'm actually also seeing quite a few businesses looking for candidates with the PMP, so the project management professional qualifications as well.
Yeah. There is no doubt for the technical and engineering role that the CIBSE membership can play a significant role in elevating the candidate profile. I believe you do agree with that.
100%.
Yeah.
and especially the different tiers that you have. You know, I remember years and years and years ago, I obviously can't mention the guy's name, but I remember seeing a CV. It shows the sad life of a recruiter. I get excited by CVs. I saw he was the youngest chartered engineer at that point in time, and like how it was incredible that I think he only had like 7 or 8 years of experience or something. He was amazing. So I always look for that in candidates' CVs as well, in their profiles. I think outside of the requirement from the employer, I think it actually shows a lot about the candidate and how they are investing in themselves to better themselves. I think it says a lot. You've also got some businesses that will actually give you a pay rise if you obtain your chartered status as well.
This is why the CIBSE Institute offer a free membership to students, so they can know their clear pathway after graduation, you know, how to hit to the market and how to tackle their career by keeping an eye for their professional continuous CPDs and how they can move on with the right approach and associating themselves with the right crowd. This is actually, it is a clear insight from my personal experience and with the people and with our member in the region, that it helps a lot on looking, you know, progressing within the same organization, or if you decided to have the next step in your career.
I think we get clients of ours, especially from a very senior perspective, if you're getting up to, say, even associate director level, it's almost mandatory for some businesses, as I say, to be a chartered engineer and a full member of CIBSE. But then you of course have the fellowship of CIBSE as well after that. So there's a lot of clients that I know, if they're looking for a technical director, I've even been questioned on candidates that I've sent to companies before, if they haven't had that, why is this candidate not chartered? Or we cannot have somebody within our business as a director that is not chartered.
Totally agree. We have seen lately the encouragement that coming from the employer themselves and the recruiter to support and help engineers to pursuing their CIBSE membership or their chartered status as well. And also CIBSE offering like a corporate or a group membership where you can avail higher discounted if you have 4+ engineers enrolling. So that also will keep that encouraging the engineers to take the right step toward their professional career enhancement.
Yeah, and interesting, we talked about remote work and stuff like that as benefits. One of the benefits that stands out for quite a lot of employers that I work with is if they pay for those professional memberships. So it makes a difference if companies do that. So yeah, if CIBSE are supporting those businesses as well by giving them a discount, I think that's encouraging even more.
The institute is evolving as the market changes. You know, we have seen more demands. We have seen that, as you mentioned yourself, some of the people, they are member, but they are taking just like not taking the right step to approach or to go for their chartership or this or that. So the encouragement now, it comes, you know, from the companies and from recruiter like yourself, like giving them the right push or the right help to support them, to show them that if you progress with your professional development with institution, that you are going to progress as well in your career.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a great role that we thank you for.
Well, that's okay. It's our job. Like as you alluded to earlier, you know, I've got the benefit of speaking to both sides. So speaking to the candidates and speaking to the clients. So I've always, you know, doing it here for such a long time, I've, especially probably the last 10 years, tried more and more to give back, because it's my responsibility. You know, if we're speaking to so many people, we have access to so many people during our working day, it's our job. It should be, as recruitment professionals, to do our best for the sectors that we work in. So encouraging people to gain chartership through CIBSE and the benefits that comes with, I think, it's undoubtable.
By you having the privilege talking to the both sides of the wall, any surprising insight you have encountered recently that you can just share with us?
From a job-seeking perspective, or from
recruitment, job-seeking perspective, and candidate expectations, how
The latter one, definitely.
Yeah.
Candidate expectations have changed significantly. As we alluded to a little bit earlier with the remote work or hybrid models, that definitely still plays a big part here. Across the world, cost of living has gone up, right? Across everywhere. We just mentioned about the residential sector here in Dubai specifically. People's rents are increasing sometimes by 30%. So, inflation, it's gone through the roof. We have it back in the UK significantly. And that is driving people to ask for more money.
For more money.
Yeah, because their bills have gone up ultimately. So, the access to the money that they might have had before to save, they might not be saving as much. And even going back to, not to go on about it too much, but the remote work piece or hybrid, people are saving money by not commuting.
Yeah.
So there are those sorts of things as well that make a difference. We've got a lot of people that went to Saudi over the last 4 or 5 years for the giga projects that are there, who, fair play, were getting paid 20-30% plus to make the move to KSA. Now certain giga projects I hear are scaling back a little bit. Some of these individuals are looking to come back to the UAE. The biggest challenge that I have and have had of late, understandably, is speaking to these candidates and saying, look, I'm sorry, but you might have earned X in KSA, but it's going to be really difficult to get you back into a consultancy in the UAE on the same salary. If not impossible, it's not going to happen. And it's our job as recruiters, again, as I say, if we're speaking to both sides of the fence, we need to influence in a positive way. There's a big stigma about recruiters, which there are a lot of not so great ones, which is true, the same as any walk of life, any profession. But there's a big stigma of us influencing salaries in the wrong way. That doesn't get anybody anywhere.
Right. Actually, I
Ultimately.
tweet in the opposite. You are helping
Yeah.
us or the industry by streamlining our expectations, and when the people they decide to move for the next step in their professional journey, what they can expect and how they can rationalize their expectations.
What the reality is.
Yeah.
And that's, we produce a salary guide every year for MEP within the UAE specifically. It includes everything from a design point of view, every level that's on there. And that has changed. It grows every year, only by a little bit. But it's, as I say, it's our job to influence that from both sides. So if a client isn't paying enough money, I need to tell them that you might want a chartered member of CIBSE, senior electrical engineer with 10 years experience in data center projects. But if you're only paying 24K a month, it's not going to happen. And likewise,
And that distinguish whether you are a chartered, how that can place you within that chart.
can do, yeah. For certain businesses, yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. It can influence what your salary could
And
be.
is it published, or our listener, they can have an access to?
They can, yeah. From our website, we've got our most recent salary guide that was released 2-3 weeks ago. So that is all available for free on there as well. So little shameless
Here we
plug.
are.
Sorry.
If you are curious or you are planning to take the next step, you know where you can get a guidance to, set your expectation and
For sure, on
see
both
which
sides.
area you can just look
Yeah, for sure.
to meet your next step, or
Yeah.
what enhancement you need to do in yourself and your professional accreditation and qualification and affiliation with professional bodies like CIBSE or other institute as well.
For sure. You can, as I say, from our point of view, energipeople.com. And of course, from CIBSE's perspective, I know there's quite a lot of guidance and stuff on how to become Chartership online as well, isn't there, I believe?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we did it we work in UAE, we are UAE based, and we have done our membership, the Chartership and the fellowship through the online. I believe that the internet is doing a great favor
Yes.
for all engineers.
Excellent.
That will move us to what's your top 3 tips you can give for somebody looking to enhance his career.
I would say for sure that we talked about it off camera, growth mindset.
It's a difficult topic, changing mindset. The industry mindset is being moving forward. And we have encountered and seen and worked with a lot of growth, web-minded growth, people with web-minded, and they encourage growth and changing procedures, protocols, and adapting new technologies and new methodologies. And also we have seen people that they have held back the process, and they stick to whatever they used to know.
So true. And it's, I even look for it in people we recruit in our business, is somebody with a growth mindset. Like you can train most things, right, in reality, but you need to have people that have got the right mindset that will adopt these sorts of things, that want to learn, that want to grow, that want to develop, whether that be personally, professionally. I was saying to someone a little while ago that, like, we invest so much money and so much time into bettering our bodies, going to the gym, going for a walk, whatever it might be, doing that sort of stuff and investing time in that. But not many people, or not enough people, spend enough time on their mind. And without going too off piece from my personal journey, it saved my life. When I was 16 years old, I was homeless. So the big thing that got me out of that situation, apart from the charity that helped me out, that I'm actually now a director of, would you believe it, trustee director, it was having a growth mindset. It got me out of one of the most challenging periods of my life. And from a personal point of view, I know I'm a recruiter, not an engineer, but that's what's helped me progress to where I am now. Is having that ability and that open mind to not just shut things down. I did have in my earlier career, I was quite stubborn, but actually seeing things from other people's perspective and saying, okay, what could we actually learn from this? What can I learn from this? How can I grow? Even when things don't go right, is taking the time actually on a project possibly to look at what the failings were, if there were any, and how you can actually adapt then to improve. So the big thing, definitely growth mindset. Attitude is another word, which is pretty much the same thing, isn't it? People that will adapt and want to learn.
Yeah.
That's
on top of that, you have the membership or the chartership added to your profile, the valuable networking and being among the right crowd. I have witnessed that have helped a lot of engineers to change their mindset or encourage them to take the next step within their career or their personal attitude or with their work ethics.
Yeah, 100%. And there's that old phrase, isn't there? You are who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
So if you surround yourself with like-minded people, you are more likely to be open-minded and to look to progress yourself. And I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that everyone who is a chartered engineer, clearly they've invested in themselves. So if you're surrounding yourself by those people who will have, some have been here for years in the region, that understand the nuances and the challenges and these sorts of things within regions. So why would you not want to be part of that? And surround yourself by so many experienced engineers that have gone through that process of obtaining chartership. And it's a community. That's the other thing that I found with CIBSE. The CIBSE UAE Awards last year, I was very lucky to be a judge at. And the whole vibe, for want of a better word, was amazing, because there were so many people that were brought together in one place to celebrate everyone's achievements. It was brilliant.
It was indeed a great opportunity. We have met with some of our colleagues that we haven't met them maybe for the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
It was great gathering, actually. And it was also a reminder for some of us. When you meet with people, you will be reminded where you have missed, and you catch up with the news, and, you can go back and contemplate how you can do better in your current job and how you can enhance your profile and look after yourself, as you mentioned. It's not only just a bodybuilding, also you can work towards mind building as well. By mentioning attitude and mega projects.
Yes.
And considering the inflation and current market trends, have you seen the commitment from the engineers? Because mega projects, it takes 5 years plus, or the tendency of people just to move from project to project or from companies to companies.
It's always a challenge, and in the region, especially for people I think that work within site-based roles. In honesty, I think it's a big challenge because the supervision side, or the project management, the contracting side of things, naturally speaking, it can be very cyclical. So some businesses, if they don't have the fortune of having a very healthy pipeline for quite a few years, naturally people will move. I've seen here in region, in honesty, the average time with a business is about 2 to 3 years for most people.
That is impressive because, being an engineer, working in a project, having a good grasp of the project requirement, having the liaison with the client, sub-consultant, subcontractors, and all stakeholders in the project. It takes time till you build that momentum when you join another project, or when you have that a huge drop when you leave your project. I believe always, we have like a very close attachment to the project that we work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because, we're always, we have that attachment. We witness the project from conception till
So your baby,
the hand of it is our
I can imagine, yeah.
And it is hard, but in the other side, I can understand that, the inflation and the commitment the person he has in his personal life as well.
And you get it, for example, you go back to the whole flexible working and everything we were talking about earlier. Like if they're a woman that's had a baby, that's returning to work, that is a significant change in life, right? And responsibilities. That I've seen, especially here within the region, there needs to be a lot more support, I think, for women that are coming back to work after having a child, I would say. I probably should have touched on that earlier when we were talking more specifically, but it's a big thing. We've even talked about it back home in the UK. But I think companies need to be a bit more flexible potentially for that as well.
That would be a very sensible approach, I believe, because also, nourishing families and having the next generation being looked after is also essential.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And I think something that gets overlooked an awful lot, which can make, a significant difference of just supporting people as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Better, I think, is a big thing. And the amount of pressure anyway that must go. I couldn't design my way out of a paper bag. I've never worked on a project, but I can only imagine the stress that it must be to go through the demands on, well, even the small project, any project. I'd imagine it must be quite tough.
It is, but it is quite interesting.
Okay.
And endearing.
Yeah.
And on behalf of all the engineers, it is a very hard decision when you have to leave your projects, whether to move to another project within the same organization or completely to have to relocate ourselves outside the company or the region. But in the other side that I mentioned earlier, the circumstance sometimes and the other life demand can pull the engineers towards, the next step or to go ahead. But always it is in our back head, and always any project, I'm definite that all the engineers always they have a soft spot in their heart for any project that they have worked in.
On the project, yeah. And it's a big decision, isn't it? Moving jobs, and hence what I was just saying about the someone that may have had a child, whether it be the father or or the mother going back to work, is that life changes, right? And you might have the best intention to stay on that project, but if you're not able to sustain your family, if you've just had another child because your salary isn't at the right level, then there are a lot of people that we do get all around the world, of course, not just within region, that their life circumstances have changed. So as much as their intention may have been and really wanted to stay within that project, it might not commercially be feasible. So
I believe even the developers, they know that they need the capital to fund the projects.
Yeah.
But by the time now, it is very evident that your real asset is the engineer that they are building the projects.
Yeah.
And this is why, I believe the market should be sensible in terms of the full packages that is being awarded to engineers in such high moving demands. The region here is moving, the landscape is changing. I feel that by the year.
It does.
Yeah.
And the demands from candidates as well, like we kind of touched on earlier, like it's been really interesting in the last couple of years that there have been certain businesses that don't provide the same benefits that they used to in terms of family sponsorship. So they don't,
no family packages as such.
Yeah. So the companies have cut back on family visas, family medical for some. So what we then have to do is we then have to inflate the candidate's salary a little bit to compensate for it. Because why, hypothetically, if you were earning $25,000 a month and you had 2 children, let's say, and the company were paying for the visas and for the medical, if you're then going to move job for 27, for example, that 2,000 dirham per month increase is nowhere near as valuable if you then have to pay for your family for their visas and for the medical or for the flights, for example. So we spend a lot of time when we're speaking to candidates to make sure the information that we have is correct on both sides, because that can make a significant difference to somebody and their life, and it could make a significant difference whether that client, the company, actually hires that individual or not, based on the benefits that they're actually providing. So we offer a service to businesses as well to actually go and look at the benefits that they have within their business and do a market analysis to essentially see if they are providing the right benefits to attract and to retain, more importantly, people. And that's something that I've always found really weird, even with back home, like energy providers, all sorts of things. They all work so hard at attracting new people, but they forget about the loyal customers that are with them. And it's the same with employers.
But I can see that it can limit both sides. It can limit companies to have the right caliber coming through, and also limiting individuals to live their normal lives.
Exactly.
And to enjoy their work and to have the work-life balance as well. That is really
difficult balance for both, especially when, the last few years, I think it's safe to say fees for consultancies for design projects have reduced, I think, across the board. So companies don't have the same free amount of cash, so to speak, to provide benefits that they probably actually really do want to provide. It just might not be feasible.
Besides family packages and salaries, what other facilities that you have seen companies giving or candidate asking?
It's the membership for subscriptions to professional bodies such as CIBSE. There are some businesses that do actually provide that. So that, again, but whatever the cost, we won't mention it here, but that cost specifically, that could be borne to the individual. So even if that's something that they had before within their previous business, it may be something that they're looking for again. So
as I mentioned, there is a substantial discount when you go for a corporate or a group membership. That, the more number you goes, the higher discount you are going to avail at the company. And I believe that will ease the situation from both sides. And also there is a scheme for company recognition with CIBSE, and all that will help the whole scenario to move toward, a mutual reciprocated benefit between companies and engineers as well with the same organization.
The other thing I think is training. That's got to be. I think it's a funny thing, like employment, if you look at it as a whole, is that a lot of businesses get it wrong in trying to attract talent, because they think the candidate should sell themselves, which I agree with. But you as a business, if you want someone, you should sell yourself as well. And we've had candidates within region, within even the UK, everywhere around the world, that the interviewer has been the reason why the candidate hasn't accepted the job, because that individual hasn't sold the business as well as they should have. I think that's something that needs to be looked at more and more within businesses, is the people that are interviewing your candidates the right people?
Right. I agree. Professional development is an individual responsibility, but also it has to meet the right environment within companies as well.
100%. And just looking at, as I say, the right people in the right spots, that you do have the right people interviewing that are going to sell the business to bring the candidates in, because there's so many that businesses that miss out on people and really good candidates because they might not have the right person that are conducting the job interviews.
Currently, there is a higher demand on the higher management and leadership role, or a fresh graduate role, or mid-professional career.
Yes, a really interesting one because we've got between, I would say, the last 2 or 3 years between principal and associate director here has been a gap. That has been quite hard to fill, to say the least. Most of the requirements that I've had have been at that level. With a principal engineer, somebody that's doing the fee bids, that's doing resource planning, all these sorts of things, but also candidates that have the skill set and the ability to win business. So whether that be networking events with clients, not knocking on doors, doing proper sales, so to speak, for new clients, that skill set as well. So yeah, there is a gap between those two levels. My worry, for want of a better word, is what happened because of COVID. There were a lot of fresh graduates during 2020, 2021 that weren't able to secure employment. So you've got this point now of graduates that probably 3 to 5 years of experience, postgraduate, intermediate engineers. Some of them weren't necessarily supported because of what happened in the world as much as they would have been and could have been because of the restrictions that were imparted on all of us. It's nobody's fault, but that has hindered some people's growth quite a lot. I've seen that. There are businesses within the UK that made people redundant last year because people weren't at the level that they necessarily should have been.
But I believe the GCC and Middle East market is open because of the booming and the construction and what is happening here. And the magnitude and scale of projects, it required, I believe, a big and a massive number of engineers and resources.
Hugely, and it's especially from a design point of view. You've got, well, again, we talked about it off camera, mechanical, electrical. One of the big disciplines that is in real high demand, that has matured a lot, and rightfully so, as its own discipline, is ELV and ICT. That specifically has come even more and more in demand the last few years, especially with data centers.
You kept saying data center, but absolutely with the AI,
yes,
digital twins, smart building and smart cities. I can imagine that the high demand now is for certain type of caliber or a certain qualification. And to encourage, to bridge that gap between principal and director's levels, what would be your advices for people to come forward and to have that step up in their career? What are the requirements or what the companies are looking for in order to fill that gap? What qualification or set of skill that is always encouraged or favored to be have?
The big things, as I say, client facing, of course, from an attribute, so to speak, is having the ability to network and to be client facing, to go out and meet people, to go to networking events, all these sorts of things. You've got the more commercial minded individuals as well. That actually have those insights and the experience and the exposure from a financial point of view on projects. But also, once you get to, as I alluded to earlier, senior engineer level in certain businesses, you have to be chartered. There's a few companies that I'm aware of here and around the world that it's even stipulated in the candidate's contract that if they don't obtain chartership within 6 months of joining, then their employment could be no more. So that's how seriously some businesses really do actually take candidates taking that next step to be chartered.
I believe as it sounds restricting, but also it is encouraging.
And that's the whole point, is that it's not.
How we look into it.
It sounds negative that you'll get fired if you don't get chartership. It's actually meant in a very positive manner because it helps you. It's going to help you
There's
progress.
intensive down the road.
It's the whole point of helping people develop and to gain that the accolade, for want of a better word, of being a chartered engineer. It's a respected title.
Absolutely. Any final insight or advice you would like to share with our listener?
Yeah, I would just say in terms of from a chartership point of view, we're talking obviously on the CIBSE UAE and Energi People podcast in collaboration. So I would say, yeah, for sure, if there's anything that anybody wants to reach out to, then for sure, any questions about salary, benefits, these sorts of things, feel free to reach out to us. And of course, to CIBSE UAE. From a membership perspective, you alluded to the discounts and stuff that the companies can obtain. I think that's something that people can they reach out to you about, or is that okay if they reach out directly? You're going to get your inbox flooded.
Definitely, we will share in this podcast the CIBSE UAE email.
Perfect.
And everyone feel free to reach out, and we are here for you to provide you with the necessary information that you needed.
Brilliant. And yeah, anybody, employers that might be looking for candidates that are unsure on the skill sets that are in high demand, then feel free, of course, to reach out to me. And yeah, we're both going to be publishing this on our own YouTube channels as well, I believe. So make sure, I think most of the popular podcasters say like, share and subscribe, right? So
I think these are the 3 words.
Yeah. So if you could do that on both of our channels, hopefully we're going to be doing this a little bit more regularly as well. We'll have a couple more episodes that should be coming in the near future as well. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yeah. That brings us to the end of this insightful conversation. A big thank you to you, James Mowat, for sharing such a valuable perspective on the current market.
Thank you.
And the role of the CIBSE membership that can add to successful career enhancement. And for our listener, whether you are a professional, seasoned professional, or graduate or student, I encourage you to explore what the CIBSE membership can offer, from valuable networking opportunities to continuous professional development and international recognition. It is indeed a gateway for growth. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep building the future.